America Meditating Radio Show, we collect wisdom, inspire each other, and empower hearts 24/7. Hi, I'm Sister Jenna. Join me and guest on Blog Talk Radio as we amplify stories that compel us to be more for ourselves and everyone else around us.
Hi, neighbor.
Mr. Rogers passed along friendship, hoping we would too. Friendship, pass it on, from the Foundation for a Better Life at Values.com.
Are you stressed, frustrated, or annoyed at work? You don't have to be. Soothe your mind and open your heart as Sister Jenna guides you through a peaceful, calming meditation that will prepare you to focus, be present, and most importantly, bring you back to your inner peace.
Hi, I'm Angela Peabody of Global Woman Peace Foundation, and I listen to America's Meditating Radio Show.
Hi, my name is Misty Crutchfield with Gandhi's Bee Magazine, online magazine designed to raise awareness and inspire people about all of the amazing things happening in the world, as well as all the challenging things that can help us raise awareness so we can make a difference in the world and be the change. One of my inspirations is Sister Jenna and America Meditating Radio. I listen, you should too.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world better place. If you can, just try. Take a little time out of busy day to give encouragement to someone who's lost the way. Or would I be talking to a stone if I asked you to share a problem that's not your own? We can change things if we start giving. Why don't you reach out and touch somebody's hand? Make this world a better place. If you can, reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place. If you can, just try. If you see an old man on the street and he's down, remember his shoes could fit your feet. Try a little kindness and you'll see it's something that comes very naturally. We can change things if we start giving. Why don't you reach out and touch somebody's
Hello, everyone, and welcome to America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna, and we're broadcasting from the beautiful Meditation Museum in the nation's capital. It's been an interesting time, and the temperament here, I'm not quite sure I can find the words for it, but I know that we are definitely being called to find some sense of neutrality, regard, respect, worthiness, belief, faith, service at a bigger level than just for yourself. And so I'm asking all of my incredible listeners to be in service to our nation through the level of thought and keep having the highest and the best thoughts possible. If you've been following the show, you know that I've been quite a a little bit passionate of a voice in terms of where we are direct in the conversation and where I find that it is in some sense revealing. I don't think we should, sweep it under the rug. It is very much revealing that we are really being called to see if we've really taken care of issues that, spawned our country maybe 50 years ago or more, and that maybe the sore and the bruises and the lack of exposure is still pretty much current and apparent in our nation, and we're needing to find a lot more exposure and understanding of who we are as God's children and who we can be if we're not able to match the quality at this time. Stay tuned. We're going to have Antonio-Neves, who's an internationally recognized millennial workforce and college leadership speaker. He's going to be joining us in about 2 to 5 minutes. And before I get him on the air, I want us to do what we do best here on the American Meditating Radio. You know what that is, to go into that zone of silence and introspection and to maybe focus on what's really important. That is peace of mind, purity of heart, and a clear awareness. So take a deep breath from Just a Minute Meditation CD.
Point of focus. Taking just a minute. Gently, I bring my energy away from the external. I bring all my attention up through my body to a point in the middle of my forehead, just above and behind the eyes, towards a single point of focus inside. I now look through my eyes as if they are windows. I am a still point of awareness, looking through the eyes to the world out there. I am the still point, silent and powerful.
Welcome back. I think we all have different forms of meditation, and I'm a very strong advocate for don't empty your mind. It's a beautiful place to live in if you nurture thoughts that are productive, sincere, genuine, and towards upliftment of a better humanity. So please feel free to entertain this idea of meditation. And I think a lot of people, especially in our country, struggle with practicing meditation because they say, I just can't sit there and be still or empty my mind. Don't. Please don't. Just redirect your thinking. Move towards what your goals are, your dreams, your passion, your calling. Entertain those thoughts, feed those thoughts so that you can strengthen and prepare yourself for what's waiting for you. And that is all that's really good if you put the energy in. Hey, we want to welcome Antonio-Neves. He is an internationally recognized millennial workforce and college leadership speaker. His message focuses on leadership, communication, and career success. An award-winning journalist, Antonio served as a business correspondent, host, and producer with top networks including NBC, PBS, Advertising Age, and even BT Networks. Antonio began his television career co-hosting Nickelodeon's hit show You Pick Live. His business articles and videos regularly appear in Inc.com, Entrepreneur.com, Money, Magazine, and Forbes. He's delivered keynotes and workshops to thousands of attendees at scores of corporate environments, conferences, colleges, universities. And today we welcome Antonio-Neves to America Meditating. Hi, Antonio.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to join you.
I get a little confused because my producer's name is Antonia.
I get Antonia a lot. My wife and I are expecting twins, and so a lot of questions we've been getting asked is, are you going to name one Antonia? And we decided not to go that direction, but I get the same thing.
I don't think you should. It took me almost like a year to get her name right, so I'm not about to messing it up. Congratulations on welcoming your twins. So I guess it's safe to say your two hands will be full.
Oh, my goodness, yes. It's thank you first. The two hands are going to be full. This is something by no means did we expect. When we found out there were going to be two nestling in there, we were shocked. I'm a firm believer we're never given more than we can handle, and we're excited to be charged with this great responsibility of these two lives.
Beautiful. That means you've got a lot of love to give, and if you're challenged in giving it, then just hold tight. I'm sure it's going to emerge. I want to move into our conversation today. I know that you're doing a lot of work, and you had a challenging upbringing, but you're able to become a first-generation college graduate, and you found your way through education. I mean, you've graduated from an Ivy League university, and who or what was it that actually encouraged Antonia to keep driving towards accomplishing? Because I know a particular person that's very, very close to me, Antonia, and yes, it was tough for her when she was younger, but for the life of me, no matter how much fortune and how much she's been given, she just can't move past the fact that she didn't have enough, or wasn't given that chance, or wasn't given the love that she needed. And even though she's got it, she's not able to pull herself from inside to get herself together. What was it that made you know this wasn't where you were going to stay? What was it?
That's a great question. It all has to deal with people. I think, as you mentioned, opening the show today, people have made all the difference in my life. As you mentioned, I had a challenging upbringing. Before I graduated from high school, moved over 15 different times between my mother and father, a total of 6 different divorces, experience living in a shelter for battered women, and by no means do I share that for a sob story. People have consistently showed up in my life at the right time. I can think back to being in 6th grade when I was going through a challenging experience, and I'm not sure why she did this, but I had a 6th grade teacher. She ended up casting me in the annual production of the school play, The Nutcracker. She casted me as the lead, and when I was about to turn that proverbial, wrong corner, her showing that she believed in me, somehow it taught me to learn how to believe in myself. Even though things weren't so great at home and I didn't have a lot of role models, I didn't necessarily see examples of people going to further their education. I had no idea what an Ivy League institution was. So it's all about breaking the cycle for me. And from a young age, you only know what you know. You only know what you're experiencing when you're an adolescent. And I didn't know that anything was quote-unquote wrong growing up. I didn't know anything was bad. I never felt like we lacked anything. Somewhere deep inside, though, I knew that there was something else. I knew that there was another path, an opportunity to take, that this was kind of innate. And I think because of that, I drew certain people into my life, maybe drew their interest to say, hey, let's help this young man, this kid out. And I encounter on the road as I'm speaking to students and young professionals all across the country, as you alluded to, people who kind of get stuck in the past. And for me, I always have to ask myself, even to this day, is my past bigger than my future? And for me, I have to regularly remind myself that is not the case. What happened to me isn't me. And in this professional world, it's fascinating where people stumble and have blocks. And we can look at something, Sister Jenna, as simple as the resume. And we put so much attention on what's on the resume. And we put so much attention on that introduction of me, all those television networks I worked for in New York City and the degrees. That's all great. Oddly enough, I find the things that have propelled me in my life, that have moved me forward, are those things that would never show up on a resume. Those things that could never show up on a Google search. Those experiences that I mentioned, those challenging experiences, oddly enough, those are some of the things that have given me the fuel, that have lit the fire inside of me to move forward. They provided that grit, that resilience that a lot of people are talking about now, that their researchers are spending so much time on when they determine what makes someone overcome odds, and that grit, that resilience, that willingness to persevere. So I invite people who sometimes are ashamed of those things that are not on their resume, that are embarrassed by them, those things that make them awkward. Oddly enough, that could be the fuel to push you forward, and that definitely has been the case for me to this day in my life.
I believe in that because I'm the same, because whenever I find myself in a challenging relationship or in just a challenging position, there's just something that comes from within you that is a strength or a power that was dormant. And that obstacle or that challenge is what offered us the insight to say, you've got this. And I'm perplexed about when individuals might be in that state. Like, what is it that doesn't bring sometimes some of our brothers and sisters into that place of where the real power resides. And I guess what I've been observing is still this sense of reaching out in for the solution rather than coming from in for the solution. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think for years, it's funny, television for me, a guy that spent a lot of years talking to television cameras, kind of feel like I did that for all the wrong reasons. When I look back at those 10 years, I was seeking validation from a television camera. I was seeking validation from saying I worked for XYZ Network instead of, I think to the point you're making, realizing that validation is within. Social media is interesting. You know, when you look at the Twitter and the Facebooks of the world, some people have that little blue check mark that shows that you're verified if you're a public figure. And I have one of those blue check marks on my Facebook page. Woo-hoo. But I remember being at a speaking gig somewhere in the middle of this country, and a young man inquired, said, "Hey, Antonio, and I enjoyed your message, etc." He says, "I notice you're verified on Facebook. How can I make that happen for me? How can I get verified?" And so I started to give this answer, Sister Jen. I was like, well, you know, if you've worked in the public sphere, sometimes in television, and you're a journalist, I started giving this long, convoluted answer of how the Twitters and the Facebooks identify these people. And then I had to stop and remind this young man, the audience, and myself that you were verified the day that you were born. There is no blue check mark. There's no blue check mark on any social media channel that can verify Sister Jenna, that can verify me, that can verify you. You are already verified.
That's a good book.
So I think that, right? Maybe I should do something with
there
it.
There you go.
I'm not sure if that answered your question, the point you were making. But yes, it's inward versus the external.
No, it's true, and I think that, our social media is not something that I've put a lot of energy in because we're so much into the human relationship, and I can get on the phone and call anyone if I need a big favor because my relationships are so deep and so true. And I know I've had so many friends say, "Sister Jenna, we've got to up your social media because we know who you are, we know the work that you do." And I've said, yeah, I know. I don't know. It's just somehow it's not coming out, and maybe because I feel verified. I don't know, but I know it's important to get the messages out, and I get that. But is that one of the reasons why you're moving more towards serving those who are millennials? Because you travel around the country speaking to them at colleges, universities, and in workplaces. Why have you chosen to work with that particular group, and what have you found overall to be maybe their greatest strengths and their greatest weaknesses?
Sure. Working with young professionals, young people, it resonates with me. I think a lot of it is personal. It goes back to, I think, my upbringing and a little bit of how I felt lost when I began my career and kind of ventured out of my small town in Michigan and explored this planet a little bit. And what I found across the country as I speak to young college students and to young professionals is a lot of fear, a lot of unknowns. I think we're in a time and place on this planet right now where seemingly we can do anything we want, which sometimes ends up that we're not doing anything, that paralysis analysis. With the millennial generation, they call it the fear of missing out. For some reason, and I'm not sure why this calling has come to me, but I connect with that 19 to 30-year-old in a way that I guess I can do a corporate workshop for middle managers or executives, et cetera, you name it, but for some reason that young audience, we connect in a way. And I think some of the things that they struggle with is what I mentioned to you earlier, and that definitely is the validation piece of things. They struggle with I think the willingness to be patient for the results to come, and I can't speak for everyone. I'm speaking generically right now. I kind of want those results, that raise, that big time job with that big company to come right away. And so they struggle with, again, the external, what society is thinking, that competition with friends, because maybe they're seeing things on those social media channels I didn't see when I began my career. Thank goodness there was no Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, everything that everyone's using. I would have been overwhelmed. However, what I have found, because I think a lot of studies they talk about this entitled generation and they're lazy, all these different things. But as you dig a little bit deeper, and you have conversations, you realize these young folks are hungry. They are willing to make a change. They want to make a change, whereas assumptions are being made that they want a more digital communication. No, they want more one-on-one conversations like you and I are having right here. They want to connect with others. When it comes to careers, there's a study that came out, and they said if a young professional had to choose between a job that paid six figures or one that paid substantially less but provided them with more meaningful work, I think over 70% of the time they're going to go to that job that provides meaningful work. So I think in many ways we're underestimating this generation, but we have the opportunity to reach out to them. I think a lot of times older generations, we wait for them to come to us like we're the older ones, we're more experienced, we're the manager, they should come to us. And I think we're hurting ourselves and hurting them if we're not willing to make that first step forward towards them as well.
Yeah, I like that. I know that you're talking a lot about, you're inspiring them to think more, to create more about luck. You're letting them know that life has a lot to do with luck. Something that Oprah said, she actually was saying, I don't believe in luck, but I do believe in preparation. And I thought that was very interesting because one is to be prepared, and then I look at luck like what we call in Indian culture just karma philosophy, that I don't know what the sum total of all my good deeds are sitting in my soul of so many lifetimes of my past, that one day all of a sudden I become the one that holds the winning lottery ticket to life. So what is luck to you, and what are some of the steps that you encourage others to take to create their own luck?
Yeah, I think if the people hear the word luck and they think it's a lot of, woo-woo. And by the way, I like woo-woo, so I'm okay with woo-woo. First I think about Pablo Picasso and that quote, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, inspiration normally finds me when I'm working. And I'm a firm believer in that. So I look at luck very much the way you just described Oprah, and she said something to the extent of luck is when opportunity meets preparation. When I'm talking across the country or writing articles, I like giving folks what I call a smoothie. Like you get this tasty smoothie, but we have no idea. We're blending in some kale and some spinach and these different things in there, these nuggets that are going to hopefully provide you with some nourishment. So I look at luck as a three-part process. Number one is really about accountability, taking firm accountability and responsibility for our experience. It's not, to your point, something we talked about earlier, pointing out of the world and being at the effect of, but it's really looking inward and taking full accountability for the results that we are or are not getting and what changes we can make to make certain things happen. So accountability is a huge portion of that, and taking responsibility and regularly asking ourselves the question, what can I learn from this experience, no matter how challenging is this, and really getting curious versus defensive, which I find changes a lot. The second area is, as I look at luck, it's about, I call it finding the edge, and that means it's that willingness to get regularly uncomfortable. I'll ask people, I'll go around a room and I'll ask them, when's the last time you did something that provided those butterflies in your stomach? You get ready to ask someone out for a date. When's the last time you decided to host an event on campus or within your organization, and it's time for it to begin? You have to grab that microphone and your throat gets constricted and gets dry because all of a sudden you're about to do something new. When's the last time you had that increased heart rate in that sporting event? And if you're not regularly, I'm a firm believer, if you're not regularly getting some type of butterflies, that constricted throat when you have to put yourself out there and get a little bit uncomfortable, you probably aren't growing and you aren't moving forward. Not to sound corny and cliche, but we know how muscle grows. You lift weights and it rips muscle. And when you rip that muscle, it allows it to grow back stronger and bigger. So regularly getting uncomfortable and finding the edge. The last part for me is finding the edge is who we surround ourselves with. Are we spending time with allies, or are we spending time with thieves? And simple question for that is, think about the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And ask yourself this question, do they make you better? All right? And do you make them better? I had to chuckle when someone on your staff reached out to me, and I was so happy to see that you recently interviewed my friend Christine Hassler. And I was thinking about, allies and how these people that regularly encourage you, support you, empower you, and challenge you and push you to be, as authentic as possible. So, again, that healthy accountability, responsibility, that willingness to get uncomfortable so you can grow, you can move forward. And lastly, who are you spending your time with? And sometimes, if nothing else, if I'm spending time with exceptional individuals, that makes those first two things happen by itself.
True. I agree with that. There's a saying, you are the company that you keep. It still holds true, even though that's been for generations. Remember, I don't know if it happened to you, but your mom or dad would pull your ear, don't you dare hang out with that boy or that girl. And I get that, because we are influencees and influencers. And if I do have a dream and a goal or a calling, and I'm with somebody who isn't matching that, it's just going to be a little bit longer to get there, or a little bit harder. And sometimes maybe I can let my long and my hard be in another area, not necessarily in my passion or in my calling. I think we need to make sure that we keep that area clean. And even though our challenges might be those opportunities to move us closer to our calling, I do feel that the people that you were with or you spend time with become a huge precursor as to how you end up in life. I think that's very, very important. So thanks for mentioning that. I want to talk a little bit about the book as we come to a close of our conversation, which I've loved tremendously. You've got a book, 50 Things Every College Student Should Know, and you say that the most important lessons you learn happen outside of the classroom. So what are some of those lessons?
Yes, I think about my college career, and it was a great college career at Western Michigan University and on to Columbia University for grad school. And I think about the things that have propelled me in my life. It's not the name of the university that I went to. I think we spend so much time, like, are you going to the right school? And all the ratings, which are creating a lot of anxiety, unneeded anxiety, I think, in society, and kids from a very young age. It wasn't, my name or anything like that, but there are little things that made a big difference. One was just a framework. As I think about students spending a lot of time on focusing on problems as opposed to focusing on the opportunities that are there before them. Things about your personal brand that I work a lot with students on. I invite all students to regularly open up one of those incognito private browsers and Google their name and see what comes up, because guess what? Employers and people out there are going to do that. And see what comes up when you Google your name on that private browser. And if that, is it you? Does it represent you well? Do you have that strong web presence that make people want to learn more about you? In the book, there are, again, over 50 different things I get into. One area I get into also is the power of we versus me, and how I find that when we are part of an environment where the constant attention is on we, it's on us as opposed to I, to me, positive things can happen as it relates to collaboration. These little nuggets also include something that I think, probably something I'm guessing you've done over the course of your life, and maybe not even knowing it. A lot of people don't know they're doing this, but I believe the most powerful meeting that someone can have is not a job interview. It's something called an informational meeting. That's when you find someone doing exceptional work that you're interested in, say like yourself, and you reach out to them, and you schedule that 10 or 15-minute conversation, and your goal over the course of that meeting is just to learn more about their story, because I'm a firm believer as we learn more about other people's story, it helps us learn more about our story. So I get into things like those over the course of the book. Again, 50 nuggets that are written, I guess, from a blog perspective, short things that can be digested easily and you can open up at any time to be inspired. One of them I really like, which is really blows folks away, and you're going to laugh at this, but it's like write handwritten thank you cards.
Yeah, I totally believe in that, though.
But I like to say, don't be deletable. If you go to your mailbox next week and you see a handwritten card from me, it just means so much more that, first, I'm appreciative of being on this program. Second, that someone bought some stationery. They took the time to write something. They went to the post office. They put a stamp on it. It shows that you care. And I guess the last thing I'll share about the book is I end it with a story telling about how one time I found myself in Alaska reporting a story, and it was raining, sister-jenna, and I noticed that no one was using an umbrella. It confused me, and I went up to some of the locals, and I'm like, why is no one here using an umbrella? Why am I the only person using an umbrella? And the guy looked at me. He was soaked in water, and he said, it's just water. And it was so powerful. And I remind students throughout these trials and tribulations of your college career and life, you're going to get soaked with that proverbial water every now and then, but it's going to dry, and you can learn from it. It's going to provide that grit and resilience. So this book has all these little nuggets of wisdom that are going to help folks inside the classroom, but most importantly outside the classroom, to get them thinking in a way that career services department isn't, in a way that professor isn't. Not because that professor, career services department doesn't care, but they have other missions and goals that they have to meet. So I wanted to make sure they're equipped with some things that are going to help them continue on with success in their life and their career. And I appreciate you mentioning the book.
No, thank you so much for all that you've shared so far. I think it was quite meaningful and very, very powerful. I can see why the college students are really all about you. I think what you're sharing helps a lot. And even when you were talking, I went, I haven't Googled Sister Jenna. I wonder what they've got out there on me. I was looking.
I Googled you, and you believe me, you are in what they say, you have good SEO. You're in good shape. When they reached out, first thing I did, and I was like, yeah, okay. I immediately trust her. I don't know, and so you're good to go.
How interesting is that? I was like, okay, I didn't know that. Let me go check that out. Maybe I'm just old school, but yeah, I guess that is true. Because my producer does all the research, and there are times that on my Twitter account, which is where I was telling friends, I've got like 400 or 500 friends. And out of that, maybe 20 I don't really know personally, but everyone else I do. And so it's on there that sometimes I go, oh, Antonia, you've got to get this person. I think they're awesome. That's it. And so I'm like thinking I need more exposure and knowing more about myself and about others. I just think it's important.
Well, as you know, it's not about quantity; it's about quality. And again, from the guests you've had on your show and your reach in Huffington Post and beyond, the work that you do, I think you're doing just fine.
Oh, yeah, and really, it's, again, like what you were sharing. It's the quality of the relationships that's needed. It's picking up a thank you card and writing and saying, I totally appreciate it, sharing time with you today, and thank you for coming and stuff like that. And I believe in that wholeheartedly. If you could share with us your final message for the country. I have never focused on a political campaign as much as I have with this one, and am doing as much as I can to help us to be very conscientious in the choice that we're going to make. If you were to share a vision for where we all need to go as a nation, as a people, what would that be, Antonio?
The vision, at first, that's a big question. It's a great question, and it's one that makes me take a breath for a second. The vision that I have, I think, in this landscape where we are right now is where we're at so many odds. And on college campuses, I see folks on odds as well. You're on this side of the fence or the other side of the fence. And I'm okay with intellectual discourse. I'm okay if we don't disagree. But what I'm not okay with is when we still don't come together and talk about these things. We don't always have to disagree. So what I invite others to do and continually invite myself to do is be willing to find, that quote-unquote good friction. Even if we don't agree, be willing to find that good friction and be pushed a little bit. I think about it, if you've ever lived up north in cold weather and you're in a car and that tire's spinning in some snow, what can you put underneath that to move forward? And, you can put sand or you can put kitty litter or salt, and that friction is going to propel you forward. And I think about how diamonds were formed and how they were formed under millions and millions of years of pressure. They weren't being massaged. I think about if you're in the woods and you're stuck and cold and you need to start a fire, you get two sticks together or two stones and you can create friction with those to start a fire. So what I invite people to do is 100% to be civil, but always to be willing to simultaneously to listen, to get curious, instead of turning our back to one another, be willing to face each other. And again, even if we don't agree with that person saying, get curious about it, find that good friction and see how we can learn and find what we agree on, find what our similarities are versus focusing in on our differences. I just see us walking away from each other. And even in our differences, I believe we still can walk to each other. And that's the vision that came to me just now.
Antonio, that was beautiful. I'm definitely going to amplify that. I think that's really important to share. I like that a lot. Hey, I've loved having you on the air so much. Please come back and please update me on your 2 buns of fun that's going to be coming soon. And leave our listeners with a website and really all the incredible very best for you and your wife and your family.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to join you here on this program. You have such a calming influence voice, online, offline, on the phone, you name it. So a pleasure to be here. For folks who want to learn more, you can find me at theantonio-neves.com, TheAntonio-neves.com. I'd love to hear from you. I respond to every email I receive. And, again, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Take good care. Thanks, Antonio.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. How sweet it was to have Antonio on the air, and just the amount of beautiful jewels that he shared with us. I'm telling you, folks, we are in a huge opportunity. There is so much beauty in this world, and that's what I love about the AM radio show. There is just so much beauty that we keep reminding everyone who tunes in, don't give up, don't turn your back, look for the best in yourself and in others, keep persevering. We've got this. We've got this. And so we're going to go through various stages, right? Even when you're young, like Antonio was saying, it was like talking to the camera, needing validation from the camera. Then after he got verified on Facebook, he's like, well, so what? So it's something within you that you start to develop, you start to grow, you start to be your own verification, and you start to realize it's not about just what everyone else is trying to, show on you that you're made it or not. It's about you, the way that you're showing up in the world. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation today. I know I did. Please do, continue to share this with your friends, forward it, download the Pause for Peace app 24/7. You get to hear the radio show and just enjoy it. Sometimes I literally just fall asleep listening to these conversations because, like Antonio shared, you sometimes learn so much just from hearing somebody else's story. You learn a little bit more about who you are, when that starts to just make life a little bit easier. So your resume isn't always just what you put on a piece of paper, but it's what you go through to get to where you are. That's your resume. And I think that's what you bring to any corporation or anything that you participate in, as Antonio was sharing. Thank you for joining us on the American Meditating Radio Show. Remember, no one's going to take away your happiness unless you give them permission. We are here to love each other the same, so let's do that, okay? So we're going to end with Sanatam Kaur. Ade, say Ade. Take care, everyone. Love you very much. Om Shanti.
ज्ञान की करे बेबू किंदा का